So for the anterior abdominal wall, I think the first thing is to essentially know what area you're talking about. And we got a few different things that we can divide the abdominal wall into, a few different sections. And we split it up into 9 different squares essentially. And that's from a few different lines that we make. So the vertical lines are essentially the mid-clavicular lines. Okay, so pretty self-explanatory halfway through the clavicle. If you draw a line vertically down, perpendicular to that point, those are the 2 vertical lines. The 2 horizontal lines are the transpyloric plane and the intertubercular plane. Okay, now the transpyloric plane is essentially the halfway point between the jugular notch and the top of the pubic symphysis. So the jugular notch is that little indentation in your neck, and the pubic symphysis is essentially the pubic symphysis. So if you draw a line halfway between those points and a horizontal line across, then that's the transpyloric plane. The intertubercular plane is essentially the top of the iliac crests, the tubercles of the iliac crests. If you draw a line connecting those 2 horizontally, then that's the intertubercular plane, and that's the inferior horizontal line. Doing those 4 lines splits the abdomen up into 9 different areas. If we start in the middle, we've got the epigastric area. The epigastric is the top middle section of the anterior abdominal wall. The middle section is the umbilical area, and then below that is the hypogastric or the suprapubic area. Adjacent to the suprapubic area, you've got the right iliac fossa and the left iliac fossa. Above those in the center, to the left of the umbilical area, you've got the left lumbar region, and then to the right of the umbilical area, you've got the right lumbar region. Then on top of those 2, you've got the right upper quadrant and left upper quadrant areas, also called the right hypochondrial area or the left hypochondrial area. It is the area underneath the ribs on the left or the right sides. So just understanding the layout of the anterior abdominal wall is super, super important. The other thing that you should understand is essentially the layers of the abdominal wall. And starting off from superficial to deep, these should be at the top of your mind. We've got the skin, obviously, and then you've got 2 bits of fascia, the fatty layer and then the membranous layer of the fascia. They have eponymous names, but I think just understanding that the fatty layer comes first and then the membranous layer is deep to that. You can just remember that as simply as F coming before M in the alphabet. Below the membranous layer of the fascia, you've got the deep fascia. Then you've got the 3 muscles of the abdominal wall, the external oblique, internal oblique, and the transversus abdominis muscle. Below the transversus abdominis muscle, you have the transversalis fascia, extraperitoneal fat, and then the parietal peritoneum, which is the outer lining of the peritoneum membrane. And just understanding that those, in order to enter the abdomen, you have to go through those layers before you can breach the peritoneum, and then you get access to the intraperitoneal organs. And that's super important to understand.